Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy Ben and JB from JBM Sports Media, and here we are about to give you guys our Final Four reactions. The game just went down, both of them, and we had one lopsided one, one not so lopsided, but still a little bit underwhelming for Final Four expectation wise. If you look at the magnitude of these games, just wasn't what it was panned out to be, especially the Michigan game, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But obviously, first we'll talk about the UConn victory. Moving on to another national championship game appearance. The UConn Huskies defeated the Fighting Illini, final score of 71-62. I'll throw it to my guy JV first. JV, what did you think about this result for UConn back in the national championship game?
Well, listen, they're just a very well coached team, and they are just super disciplined when it comes down to these big games. And not for nothing, Illinois entered this Final Four with the best offense, honestly, out of the four teams that were left. But UConn's disciplined defense was able to take over this game and really lock them down. I mean, they had such a balanced attack offensively as well, where they were able to feed off their defense, and preserve the win. So I'm not really too shocked, honestly, that UConn advanced. I know there was a lot of people that had Illinois winning this game, and I actually wasn't shocked that a lot of people had Illinois winning this game due to the fact that they were such a real powerhouse offensively. But I'm really not surprised that UConn's advancing, to the championship game, and I just think that it's really a credit to their coaching, and just how their overall strategy, and their preparation goes into every game. They're just super prepared for every game, and that's to me why they're able to get this W. I think they just knew what they had to do going into this game defensively, and they focused on that, and they were able to overcome a lot of obstacles, especially with this Illinois offense, and take it to the next level and get to that championship game.
Yeah, I when I was watching this game, more so the first half. I mean, once UConn took the lead, they really never gave it back in the sense that they just stayed very calm and composed. Reed actually had a very good game. Mullins, he's just such a clutch factor for UConn, and I think he's been a big part. I mean, the Duke shot aside, I think he's been a great shooter all season for them. If anything, he's been their most consistent shooter. And this whole, I guess, season, UConn has struggled with shooting the ball, but today they actually didn't struggle. It was probably their best shooting performance in quite some time for sure. And I'll say this, I think with the experience that UConn has with Dan Hurley at the helm, they're a tough out regardless. They in every national championship game they have been in, they've never lost. And I think the reason Illinois looked so outmatched today was because of experience. And I think experience matters in games like these. And credit to all those key players from Illinois, like Caden Wiegler, Stojakovic. I think they all played a great part. But when you look at UConn and just the amount of uncomfortable possessions that Illinois had towards the end of that game, not really creating enough space to get open shots. I mean, it kind of really told the tale right there at the end of the game where UConn really just took over. And credit to the Huskies, credit to Dan Hurley for, like I said, coaching their ass off, to his staff, because I mean we know that they have this pedigree in them and they've had it for the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years in the run that they've been on specifically, especially when they had guys like Stephon Castle, Donovan Klingen. And it's crazy because they're just a well coached machine. And I think they, even though a lot of people are obviously giving a lot of props to Michigan, which we'll get into in a second, you can't count this team out.
No, and not for nothing, you make a good point about how well coached they were. I mean, look at it this way: UConn had 9 assists and no turnovers going into halftime. I mean, that's just super good play right there. I mean, and it just goes, like I said, it goes to their coaching and their discipline. And usually for a good Illinois offensive team that we were just talking about, they actually had 1 assist going into that second half. So they just couldn't get the ball moving and shot creation that they wanted to. And that usually alludes to good defense. And obviously, like I said, UConn really strategized their defensive play, and they were able to really create on the offensive side due to their defense. They were, they knew they were going to get stops with their defensive tenacity, and that just led to their offense taking over the game. I know they were up 13 at halftime, I believe it was just 49-36 going into that half. So
Mm.
they had a decent lead going into that second half, and Illinois did make a nice little attempt, a nice little run in that second half, but it just wasn't enough. And like you said, Dan Hurley is just he's just too good in these big games.
Yeah, and I think for Illinois, if you look specifically towards the last 5 to 6 minutes when they went on a little bit of a run to cut it down to, I believe it was, I think the closest thing they cut it down to at that point was 6 points. But UConn always found a way to stop their fast breaks. They found a way to just, like I said, really make a lot of uncomfortable Illinois possessions towards the final stretch. And I think that's where experience matter in games like this. And that's where Dan Hurley, I feel like, I would say, coach Illinois' head coach in the sense that he's been here, he's done that, and now they're moving on to the final. And who will they be facing? They'll be facing the Michigan Wolverines because the Wolverines straight up outclassed, dominated, destroyed Arizona, final score of 91-73. And this team is getting a lot of comparisons, obviously, to the Fab Five back in the early 90s, late 80s, because, I mean, what a run this team has been on, this Wolverine team. Super fun. JB, what do you think about this? I mean, absolute outclass with
I
the
mean,
Wolverines destroying the Wildcats.
yeah, listen, I didn't think they were going to win this game by almost 20 points, but not for nothing. This is the fifth time in 5 games they've scored 90 or more. I mean, they are just offensively clicking right now. They are hot, and not for nothing. This is going to be a really great national championship game. I really think it's two good offenses and two good defenses, to be honest with you, going up against each other. But I'm really impressed with how Michigan is offensively right now. They are just steamrolling guys, and other teams right now in this tournament. And to score 90, or more in all the games that you've played in this tournament is just super impressive. And I think it's gonna be a real challenge for UConn, obviously, have to slow down this Michigan offense while being able to put up points themselves. But I really have to give my tip of the hat to Michigan. They are just really playing great basketball right now, team basketball. And like I said, offensively, they just look really good right now, scoring 90 or more in every game they played in this tournament is super impressive. And I have to give a credit to this young core that they have, up and down this lineup that they've been really able to produce offensively. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in this championship game and see how Dan Hurley, strategizes in the championship game. What's he going to go for? Is he going to try to score the ball more, or is he going to focus on maybe cutting down Michigan's offensive strategy?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at obviously the landscape of this one, Arizona turned the ball over way too much. I think by the second half, I mean, they just looked like they were trying to get out of that bad space they were in because Michigan had them very, very much so on a chokehold the whole game. I mean, they had a great performance from Mara. I think he had 26 or 28, something like that. He had a great game. Maurice Johnson had a good game. Elia Cadeau, even though he didn't shoot the ball the best, I mean, he did it on the other end, facilitating as well. One thing I will say is obviously going to be a concern, and we'll see the status of Yaxel Lindenberg heading into Monday's
Yes.
game because he sprained his MCL, but he still played the end of I think it was like 10 minutes left in the second half. They did take him out, but he was playing a little bit, trying to power through it. I'll just see how that ends up happening because it looked like in the play that he hurt himself, he also rolled his ankle, so just a little bit of a tough break. But regardless, I think this Michigan team is just too OP right now, overpowered to the max. This is one of the best Michigan teams they've had in quite some time. I think Arizona, with how good they have been this season, to get outclassed in this way, I think tells you a lot about their opponent and the Wolverines. Like I said, big credit because I've always been a big fan of Maurice Johnson. I thought he was just a great shooter, great perimeter shooter, and he did what he had to do today. A lot of that Michigan team, I think, is bound for success, and I don't want to spoil my prediction, but I just see this team being such a tough team to beat, like in general.
Yeah, and look, they shot 42% from the field. It was definitely a little bit of an underwhelming shooting performance by Michigan, but they forced 9 turnovers. So when you force 9 turnovers, you're going to be able to steal possessions away, and you can get away with shooting under 50% and winning games by 18 points like this. When you're going to be just as good defensively as you are offensively, that's going to make for a pretty good game. But you could be a little underwhelming in one area if you're going to be overpowering in the other. So kudos to Michigan for being able to stop, their opponent and hold them to 9 turnovers. That's just that's crazy. And in such a big game like this, 9 turnovers is probably something that you're going to be able to chalk up to a victory, and that's what Michigan was able to do.
Yeah, and look, I think whichever way you saw it heading into the whole March Madness, it was either Michigan or Arizona heading into the final. I mean, obviously Florida had its good points as well, but like they got upset by Iowa. And I think Arizona really, I thought they had a chance in this one, and I was just very stunned with how easily they got outclassed, unfortunately for them. But well deserved for Michigan. Michigan, I think they're obviously the best team left, and that's no shade to UConn. Even though I think it's possible that UConn's experience got hold and help them out big time on Monday. But I don't know. It's just really tough. Obviously, before we wrap this up, JB, if you do want to give your prediction for Monday's game, Michigan UConn, it's going to be a good one.
Maybe I'm going with a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm going to go Michigan. I think right now, with the way Michigan's playing offensively, if they could do what they did defensively today against Arizona and show what they could do, do that against UConn, I think it's going to be just too much for UConn, even with the experience that UConn has, and obviously with Dan Hurley at their side. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from UConn. I could see UConn winning this game if I had to have just put my 2 cents on it. I am going to say that Michigan takes this game. I think if they could be what they have been the first 5 games offensively, I think it's just going to be too overpowering. I think any team that could score 80 points 5 times in a row in this tournament is just deemed for good things, right? So I think if they could come out shooting a little bit better than the 42% that they shot at today, at that clip, if they could shoot close to that 50% mark and even better, I think it's just going to be too much for UConn right now. And I think if Michigan could really put the pedal to the metal defensively and force UConn into some stressful situations where they take a lot of shots that they're uncomfortable taking, maybe a couple of double team situations and a lot of hands in the face and making them feel uncomfortable, I think Michigan could really pull this game out by maybe 8 to 10 points if they really want to stretch it that far. But I could also see this game being down to maybe a possession or two. So, but I'm going to go Michigan. I'm going to go Michigan in this game in the championship, and I do see them taking it home.
Yeah, I think you know what? When you look at both of these two teams, I think without a doubt Michigan is the best one out of these two teams, and that's no shade to UConn, like I said previously, because I didn't have them making it to the final at all. I actually had Florida coming out from that side, but the fact that they're here and is their experience going to overwhelm Michigan? Michigan in national championship games, I think they're 1-6 I saw, so not the best track record behind them, but I think this is a different Michigan team that is going to rally behind them. I think it's everybody playing for the whole team in general. It's not one solo person. I think it's just team ball that they have there, and it's great to see. Like I said, if it's not Johnson, if it's not Mara, if it's not Lindenberg, if it's not Elliott, it's anybody. It's anybody's game, and I think that's what's going to come down. And I think Michigan's going to win, maybe by 7. I would say 7 or 8 points, but it's going to be close until it's not. I'll say that. They'll know when to pull away. I think that's how great of a team they are. And yeah, they're going to win their first national championship since I think '89, which is kind of crazy. So I got Michigan. We both got Michigan. We obviously want to hear, who do you guys have for the national championship game? Do you guys have UConn or Michigan? Who y'all rocking with, the Wolverines or the Huskies? Let us know in the comments. Other than that, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe here at JBM Sports Media. Follow us on TikTok and IG at JBM Sports Media. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later. Peace.